Welcome to Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 7 of Tirreno Adriatico, 160 kilometers, 100 miles in length, a little bit hilly at the start, and then it's pancake flat to the finish because they're going to have circuits of about 15 kilometers, just there under, 4 times of a lap. A bit technical. When we see the breakaway riders come in, the break of 3 that started off from kilometer 0 basically, when they come into the circuit, they have only about a 2-minute lead. Their maximum time on today's stage was only given 3 minutes because there's 4 teams back there chasing. It's Jumbo-Visma, Alpecin Phoenix, FDJ, and Quick-Step that kept the 3 breakaway riders of Manueli from Astana, Alessandro Tunelli from Bardiani, and Jorg Arcas from Movistar on a very, very tight leash of only 3 minutes. Now, you know it's going to be a sprint stage today. That's a given when you see a 3-minute gap and you see 4 teams back there chasing. When they come down onto the flat part of today's course, that's when they get on the circuit, about 60 kilometers to go, and you start to see how narrow, technical, and possibly really dangerous this course might be for the finishing 1.1, 1.2 kilometers of today's stage. Now, with so many teams chasing back there, we know it's going to be a field sprint on today's stage, like I was saying, but I want to explain something. When I was a bike racer and you come into these stages, I really didn't like this kind of stage with only a 3-person, 3-rider break up the road and then so many teams chasing, because the pace is set so smooth throughout the whole day that you know when you get onto this final 15-kilometer circuit in the city streets, it's going to be crazy because everyone's going to have good legs. Those 6 days of racing before we get to this final last stage 7, yes, there's a lot of effort on the legs and a lot of guys could be tired, but the big pro riders here, they will come good for the final of this stage, and that's what I didn't like. Everybody's legs loosen up. Everyone has a whole lot of time to get back into the rhythm of racing. The blood starts flowing through the legs, and with the flat finish here, and with the easy riding coming in, you know it's going to be curb to curb at the finish. Now, with the 4 teams up there chasing, that meant that the break had no chance and everything was calm and easy for everyone to relax. Again, another precursor to how stressful this last lap of 15 kilometers is going to be for the pro riders. So I always found it really dangerous as a GC rider to do such a steady pace and then come in and have it so explosive for the last lap. I gotta believe Tadej Pogacar, UAE team Emirates, is gonna think the same way. When you have his kind of form, you would prefer just to have the race incredibly hard, everybody tired and at the maximum like this. And then when you get on the circuit, it's not such curb to curb on this last lap. That could end up costing you the victory here at Tirreno Adriatico and that amazing Trident staff that we've been watching on television throughout the 7 days of racing. So, nobody wants to lose the Trident staff, trust me, because I got a dinner plate for 2nd place in 2012, and every time I look at it, I just think about how beautiful it would have been in my house with that absolutely marvelous Trident staff right there as you enter the front doorway of my house and everybody to look at. So let's get into the action now, because when they come across onto the circuit for the first passage, their time is only at about 2 minutes. And then later in the race, we're going to start getting another big team on the front with DSM chasing. Now that's 5 big World Tour teams back there chasing 3 little guys off the front. So you know there's not much hope. With that gap being so small, and now with the Peloton chasing, they just keep fanning that gap at about a minute throughout the whole stage. And so everything back there is going to be easy and pretty stressless up until we get to the last lap. Now, with 16 kilometers to go, we're going to see the breakaway split up as Tunelli drops off and leaves the 2 riders up front trying to hold off that group of the Peloton back there. They don't have much hope, but I got to put in a little shout here for Jorg Arcas from Movistar, because he was pulling on the front like a madman. The Astana rider Manueli, he was trying to do pulls, but that was the best he could do. You could see the 7 days of race, and now we're starting to add up on his legs. Now, just under 15 kilometers to go, we get on the last lap, and this is when things get really stressful. When I was a professional, this is when I started to perk up. And now you got to worry, because if you're there on general classification, you know you could still lose Tirreno Adriatico between this last 15 kilometers and the finish line, or certainly last 15 kilometers till 3K to go. Anything is possible at this moment. Up front with 8 kilometers to go, we see Bahrain Victorious getting on the front. They got one man, he's pulling hard as they finally reel in the Movistar rider, Jorg Arcus. Now things are gonna get sketchy because it's starting to go curb to curb. And we're talking about 7 wide with 6 kilometers to go. It's Trek Segafredo, Israel, Startup Nation, Arkea Samsic, UAE Team Emirates riding for Tadej Pogacar, trying to keep the Tour de France legend safe and make it all the way till 3 kilometers to go. Then Lotto Soudal is on the left side of them. Bahrain Victorious and FDJ is on the total left side of the road as we're going 7 wide down the street. Now with 4.5 kilometers to go, it's Alpecin Phoenix that's completely out of position, and we'll see one of their riders on the sidewalk trying to move up. This is a bad sign for Tim Merlier, who won stage 1 here at Tirreno Adriatico. And this will be the last time we see Alpecin Phoenix up at the trying to get up at the front or even near the front. They will not make another appearance, as today's stage is going to get crazy here for the final. Now, just to push how stressful it was on the street, while they're 7 wide, they're trying to go 8 wide now, while it's the DSM rider all the way on the right side in the gutter. When we're talking about using up all of the real estate from curb to curb, I'm talking about all of the real estate. DSM rider, he's going to have to lift his pedal to clear the gutter curb there. Otherwise, he's going to crash as he's trying to push his way in on the Trek Segafredo team of Quinn Simmons at the front. With 3 kilometers to go, it's Total Energy taken on the front, and they took it just at the right time as we're starting to get into the real technical corners here with the last 3 kilometers to go. They'll hold that lead to 1.8 kilometers to go when it's Israel Startup Nation on the front. With 1.5 kilometers to go, we'll see Jumbo-Visma, and they're spread all over the place. So they're in complete disarray here as they got one rider in the front, one rider in the middle, one rider way in the back. We know Jumbo-Visma's having a problem. They did tremendous work on the front throughout today's stage, but now their lead-out train certainly isn't gelling at this moment as they got all of their guys spread out throughout the peloton. 1.2 kilometers come, and we'll see it's Julian Alaphilippe that's near the front, if not right on the front, and he'll look over his left shoulder and realize he doesn't have his quick-step teammates with him. It's Davide Ballerini and Mark Cavendish, I would imagine, back there lost. Julian Alaphilippe drops off the front, goes back to pick him up, but his legs are toast during this week of Tirreno Adriatico as he can only take a few pedal strokes. He'll look over his right side, give the chicken arm of the right elbow, flicking it out, and then he'll pull off to the left, leaving his quick-step riders to take their sprinters all the way into the finish of today's stage. Alex Dossett was doing an amazing job on the front for Israel Startup Nation. He'll come into the crazy technical roundabout just before 1 kilometers to go. With the lead, he's got Zabel and Nizzolo locked onto his wheel as he exits the roundabout, followed by the 1K banner and then the super technical left-right chicane that'll drop out with about 600 meters to go to the line. That's when we see Alex Dossett pull off to the right. Zabel will do a massive acceleration there all the way on the left side of the road with Nizzolo on his wheel. But there's another team in the mix now because it's Intermarché. And how many times throughout this early 2022 season have we seen Intermarché just delivering a massive team train to the finish of these stages throughout the early 2022 season? It's been remarkable, and it's Andre Pasquilon who's leading out Christophe. Christophe second on his wheel. Pasquilon will get Christophe all the way to 250 meters to go. But wait a minute, there's something I left out. Let's back it up now. 2.2 kilometers when they came out of the right turn. When they come out of this right turn onto the coast, take a look at that flag there in the picture. It's blowing hard. It's a full headwind. Now let's go back to 250 meters to go when Pasquilon pulled off and Alexander Kristoff started his sprint proper. It's a long ways out, right? We saw back there at the flag at 2.2 kilometers to go. That means it's a block headwind. 250 meters to go is a long ways in a block headwind, and Alexander Kristoff has started his sprint. He comes over the top of Zabel's wheel, and then it's Giacomo Nizzolo that slots around his teammate and gets onto the wheel of Christoph. Behind Nizzolo, we're going to see Arnold Demar, Phil Bauhaus, and Groves from Bike Exchange, all left behind Giacomo Nizzolo's wheel. Now that was at about 200 meters. Now we start getting down to 100 meters to go, and it's 4 riders across the road. Alexander Kristoff on the left, Nizzolo to his right, Muschetti from Trek Segafredo to his right, and then Chimolai coming up on the far right. The back row, though, Arnold Demar is all the way on the left. He's getting the draft from Alexander Kristoff and hoping that a gap will open up between him and the fencing. He's waiting to the absolute last minute. Now, even one spot behind Arnold Demar is the Phil Bauerhaus from Bahrain Victorious. Now, he's back there. He's got to be panicking at this moment because it's 100 meters to go. As the gap starts to open up just a little bit for Arnold Demar, the FDJ rider whose team rode throughout today's stage 7. He's trying to slot up between the fencing and between Alexander Kristoff. Kristoff will move just a hair to the left, though, and that'll cause the brakes to lock up on Arnold Demar as he's lost his chance at a today's stage 7 victory. Now behind, when all that was happening, when Arnold Demar was trying to slide up the fencing, Phil Bauerhaus from Bahrain Victoria, who was completely all the way on the left side with 125 meters to go, has now jumped all the way to the right side. He's flying up the right side of the road, trying to win today's stage. Giacomo Nizzolo, though, who's had a fantastic lead out from Israel Startup Nation, who jumped onto Alex Kristoff's wheel right at the right time. Now he's flying up on the right side of Kristoff with 25 meters to go. Giacomo Nizzolo, my old teammate, looks like he has this stage 7 win in the bag until Phil Bauerhaus, who came all the way from the back, didn't get to the front until about 25 meters to go. Edges past Giacomo Nizzolo to take a bike throw win here at stage 7. It was 3-4-way bike throw to the line to win the spectacular stage here at Tirreno Adriatico, with Phil Bauerhaus taking the victory, Giacomo Nizzolo, who held on to take second, and then third was Caden Groves from Bike Exchange. Now, Kristoff, he faded. He'll drop back out of the top 5. This was a spectacular sprint finish. The day was an absolute sleeper, so there's no reason to go back and watch 100K like I did. Just turn on the last 15K. You'll be satisfied. It was a fantastic day here of racing on this last 15 kilometers. Lots of stress, curb to curb, all the way from about 8 kilometers into the finish line with a dicey 1.2 kilometers all the way to the sprint finish. Now, when we talk about the GC, it's Tadej Pogačar, who we know wraps it up today with his spectacular 2 stage wins here at Tirreno Adriatico. Looking forward to seeing what this kid can do in the future, and of course at the Tour de France. What I'm really looking forward to is when we see the other Slovenian, Primož Roglič, and him start doing some GC battles. They've done a great job of separating from each other throughout these last 2 seasons, of really only coming together at last year's Basque Country and then the Tour de France, and a couple one-day races last year at Liège, Bastogne-Liège, and Lombardy at least, and possibly a few others if you want to throw in the Olympics. Now, second on general classification here, Jonas Vingegaard. He survived today's stage, had a little mechanical during the stage when we got on the circuits, but no big deal. He'll finish second. Congratulations. That's a great ride when you're talking about trying to beat Tadej Pogačar. And Bahrain Victorious, who were pretty sleepers throughout this Tirreno Adriatico, had a fantastic showing yesterday for 3 riders in the top 10. And then, of course, the stage win today here with Phil Bauerhaus rounds out. So they got a podium with Mikel Landa, a stage win today, and 3 in the top 10. So Bahrain Victorious, as is always the case in sports, things can change so quickly from one day to the next. Stage 5, their results didn't look that exciting. Stage 6, they got 3 in the top 10. Today, they get the stage win. Congratulations, Bahrain Victorious. Well-deserved victory on today's stage 7. Now, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next bike race here on the Butterfly Effect.